Hi, and thank you for joining me. And in this episode, I would like to basically pay tribute to Christine McVie, who passed away sadly a few days ago. And with that, I'd like to review, discuss this beautiful album, which she released only this year, called Songbird, and it's a collection of her solo stuff, basically. Obviously, most people will know Christine from Fleetwood Mac. Her maiden name, Christine Perfect. She did write and perform and record under that name, and then I think it was 1970, round about that time, she married John McVie, the bass player of Fleetwood Mac, and subsequently joined the band, and frankly for their I would say mega stardom phase in the sort of mid to late 70s, really she was the leading songwriter, leading singer, pretty much the driving force of the band. As I say, a few days ago, about 10 days ago, I think it was last week before this one just gone, she sadly passed. And the world has lost a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit and soul, but her energy lives on in her songs and her words and her recordings, and that's really what I'd like to just celebrate, really. So here we are, Songbird. This is say I managed to get a vinyl copy, but you can buy it on CD for not very much money. Yeah, what she's done here is she's revisited a whole bunch of songs from her from previous solo albums, and in addition to Songbird, the title track, which is just I think sums her up. It was on Rumours, which is Fleetwood Mac's greatest hit by a country mile, and it's just one of those most timeless, beautiful, 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 beautiful songs ever. And what she typically did was write love songs, and what a better, more beautiful, magical, beautiful thing to do than that. So anyway, just before I go into this, I'm just going to run through a very, very quick little brief history of Fleetwood Mac with Christine McVie. So the first Fleetwood Mac album, which I think was released in 1967, was just called Fleetwood Mac. Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, I think might have been its full title, but that was their debut album. And then in '68 they released this, Mr. Wonderful, which is kind of quite a crazy cover. So this was only their second album. And Fleetwood Mac, for those of you who don't know, I mean, everyone's going to know the 1970s Fleetwood Mac, Rumours, and etc. But Fleetwood Mac started off very much as a British blues band. There's no question. That was, utterly, totally, firmly kind of cemented into the blues, and it was formed by, I would say, Peter Green, even though it was Mick Fleetwood and John McVie whose names were given to the band. The first album's called Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. So there we go. Anyway, but even on this one, so 1968, I mean, I don't know if you can see here, but we have Christine Perfect, piano. Perfect is Christine's maiden name. Nice name, Perfect, hey? Anyway, so yeah, she is credited with playing on with Fleetwood Mac from '68, and is on, I think, pretty much all of their albums, but she's not credited on all of their albums from that point onwards. But all these early albums, they are. I didn't bother showing you, but I've got the original, and let me just put this over here. It's yeah, I mean, it's their first album is absolutely stunning, but you know, Christine's not on it, so not really relevant to this story, so to speak. This is the next one I've got. Well, the next one I've got that credits Christine, and this is actually a double back. So there's two separate albums: the original Fleetwood Mac and English Rose. Both kind of compilation albums. They did an awful lot of compilation albums. So this is a double album. So, you know, sides 1 and 2, which is originally known as the original Fleetwood Mac, or released as the original Fleetwood Mac. Again, guest Christine Perfect on piano. So she's still Christine Perfect, but she's on, you know, Fleetwood Mac albums and being credited as such. And the next one I've got is Then Play On, which she's not credited on, but I do believe she plays on. And then there's a couple of other albums: Kiln House, Future Games, and Bare Trees. That's it. 71 and 72. And you know, gradually she goes from being uncredited, although, like I say, she is actually credited on the second album, to being a full credited member. Another thing with Fleetwood Mac, as I say, they started out very, very, very much a British blues band, initially fronted by Peter Green. Had Jeremy Spencer on guitar, and then Danny Kerwin arrived, and various, you know, it was a revolving stage of musicians, particularly guitarists, and the only two constant members were John McVie on bass and Mick Fleetwood on drums. And when you consider Christine McVie was actually there in the background from the second album 1 year in, she's kind of quite a critical key stone in the building, if you like. And anyway, as I mentioned earlier, subsequently Christine and John got married, so she became Christine McVie. And cut a long story short, the band sort of went through, you know, a few more transitional years, and then really, due to record company deal pressures and the like, they moved to America. And Christine is quoted as saying she didn't want to go, but they went. And this was the next album. Again, self-titled Fleetwood Mac. Excuse my very old, battered and seen the wars copy with coffee stains on it and everything else. So this is 1975. And this was, this album was the first album that included Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were girlfriend and boyfriend at the time. Both songwriters. Nicks a singer. Well, both singer-songwriters, in fact. But Lindsey Buckingham, a fairly proficient guitarist, to say the least. So we've kind of got a second debut album, 1975, the American Fleetwood Mac, if you like, the West Coast Californian Fleetwood Mac, rather than the British blues Fleetwood Mac of who debuted 8 years previous. And this of course, this was, you know, this album here really is when they started to get their hits. And you can see Christine here, right in the middle. And as I say, this is kind of like the rebirth, if you like. And I do find it interesting that it's the second self-titled album they've done. And by this point in time, Christine McVie is really the lead songwriter. I mean, she's what we got here? Over My Head, Warm Ways, Say You Love Me, World Turning, and Sugar Daddy. So she's actually got more writing credits than anyone else, and I think more lead vocal credits. Maybe equally shared lead vocal credits with Lindsey Buckingham, but she has become compositionally and in many respects, in terms of the lead vocals, she's become the kind of the mainstay of the band. So that's 1975 Fleetwood Mac, and then really I've got a Japanese copy which I've had for donkey's years, and here we are with, everyone will know this, Rumours, 1977. This was their absolute smash. And again, there's just some, it's just dripping with phenomenal songs. But what is very, very, very worth noting, with Don't Stop, Songbird, of course, which I will get back to on a solo album, but it's just, it's moved me to tears before now, and we'll talk more about that. And You Make Loving Fun, Oh Daddy, all of her compositions, all of her leads, she's lead singer in all those tunes, and The Chain, of which was a group composition. So again, here we are, and she's still the number one writer. And an album that will go down in history of one of the absolute greats of just they're not a British blues band anymore. They're a Californian sort of pop rock band, but just a exquisitely polished band and an exquisitely polished album. And then this is the last Fleetwood Mac album, or the latest Fleetwood Mac album I've got, which is Tusk, which was 1979. And even on here, Lindsey Buckingham has just overtaken her with writing credits and lead vocal credits, but Christine is still, a very strong second in terms of writing and lead vocal. So it's and they went on for many, many, many years and had many, many, many more hits. I'm familiar with Mirage and Tango in the Night and later albums, but really, Christine McVie. I think Fleetwood Mac, they started out kind of, as Peter Green's band, if you like, with John McVie and Mick Fleetwood, and those two, are the only two that have lasted right the way through. But Christine McVie made the band hers too, without a shadow of a doubt. She was there, and indeed through their, into their most, by a country mile, their most successful period, she was the one. So now we get to this, Songbird. So this was released earlier this year in the summer, I think. And as I say, it's a beautiful record. It's all the songs have been remixed by Glyn Johns, who worked with the Beatles, for those who don't know. So, very, very good provenance, so to speak, or a very good CV. And it's just full of beautiful songs. And we start off with Friend, which is a really, really beautiful song. It's kind of archetypal Christine McVie. You'd know it was her a mile off, with a beautiful, soft, husky, kind of smoky vocals, and just a slow, caressing, gentle groove. Sweet Revenge, vivid echoes of Fleetwood Mac. Same with The Challenge. The Challenge was initially recorded at, it was recorded at Mountain Studios in Montreux, and interestingly has Eric Clapton on guitar. And when was this recorded? 1984. So this was from the album Christine McVie. So just as I'm pretty sure she had her first solo album was called Christine Perfect. That was her name then. Her second solo album was called Christine McVie. So it's kind of quite cool, isn't it? You've got two eponymous albums, but with different titles because you got married and changed your name. It's kind of groovy in a way. Northern Star, it's a lovely, lovely song. And Ask Anybody, which is, it's hard to pick favourites on this side. I mean, it's actually hard to pick favourites on this album. But Ask Anybody is another really good fun song. And co-written by Christine and Steve Winwood of the Spencer Davis Group and Traffic fame. A fabulous song. Side 2, Slow Down, Easy Come, Easy Go, I really enjoy. Giving It Back, I really enjoy. And All You've Got to Do, again, I really enjoy. And then we got Songbird. Now, Songbird here, this is literally the vocal track from Rumours. And on Rumours, I can't imagine any of you don't know it. So if you're watching this video, you'll know it. So what they've done on here is they've extracted Christine's piano part from Rumours, taken that out, left her vocal track intact, and replaced the piano with a string section, basically. A string orchestra, whatever you want to call it. Be honest with you, I much prefer the original, but it's beautiful. It fits in with the context of this album. It is a solo work, and even though, let's face it, Songbird was a solo. I mean, there's Lindsey Buckingham strumming some acoustic guitar in the background when they played live, apparently. But it's her song. There's no question. This whole album is beautiful. I do prefer Songbird off of Rumours, and that's fine, frankly. And if you prefer this, that's fine too. But here's the vinyl. It's very nice. It wasn't particularly cheap, I have to say. I think it was 30 something quid. I think you can get it for 20 something on Amazon, which is okay. Which is okay. I do notice it's got BG in the run-out groove there, so I don't know if Bernie Grunman cut this. That's kind of interesting. I'll have to look more into that. But it's a nice record. It's a beautiful sound. Now this is one other little thing which you get in the vinyl LP, which I do want to talk about just one little bit before we wrap up here. So let's just have that there. So here we are. This is I don't know if you can see that. Johnny Walker, who's a radio DJ, very prominent radio DJ in the UK. Johnny Walker talks to Christine McVie, January 2022, so from earlier this year, and he's talking to her about this release, and they chatter on, and it's a lovely. I mean, honestly, I'm assuming you get this in the CD, but worth checking. If you don't, I think I would buy the vinyl just for this, because it's such a touching little interview, frankly. But let me just find the little bit where we get on to talking about Songbird, the title track. Here we go. So I just want to read you this little bit here. So, Johnny Walker. When we come to the song that's given this collection its title, and for many people, including my wife, their favourite Fleetwood Mac song of all time. I think I possibly agree with that, to be perfectly honest. It's beautiful. although, you know, there's so many great songs, I'd rather not have, you know, I like lots of things. I love lots of things. It's you know, the favourites, but it is an absolute favourite song of all time. Anyway, continuing, Johnny Walker. I've heard you talk about the writing of this before, that it came to you in the middle of the night. Christine McVie replies, it did. I woke up about 3 a.m. and I had the song, the melody, everything in my mind. Sadly, I didn't have anything to record it on, so I got up. I had a little kind of Hohner piano in my room, and I just started playing it and singing it. But I had no way of recording it, so I had to stay up all night and just sing it in case I forgot it. Then at 9 a.m, I called the engineers at the studio and said, you've got to get me on a 2-track with this song. Doesn't matter how it sounds as long as I get it down on tape. And the rest of the guys came in and listened to it and said, wow, that's a killer. Johnny Walker says, it certainly is, and people can have different interpretations of the song. Sometimes it sounds like it might be a farewell to an ex-lover. Christine replies, in this case it wasn't. I felt it was more of an anthem to the word love, to the real, genuine word love, of what it means, what it represents. And it was just like a prayer, really. And yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think it's beautiful, and I think, you know, love, universal love, romantic love, passionate love. It's, you know, love is the energy of everything, and life and the universe. I like to think. And anyway, I digress a little. So, Johnny Walker. When Fleetwood Mac played it live, I've heard it said your ex-husband, John McVie, was moved to tears very often. Christine replies, yeah, he was very often moved to tears, so was Mick. I suppose it depended on how I sung it. She laughs. And then they go on just to talk about, you know, as Mick Fleetwood, who suggested doing it as the final encore, her going out on her own and doing it, and the pressure and honour, I guess, for her of doing that. So it's, I mean, what a beautiful thing, you know. It's about love. In all its shapes and forms, and the power of love and the universe and God and everything, you know. And that to me is what she managed to capture in her lyrics and in her singing and her compositions, her playing, and of course we've got this beautiful recorded body of work from her. And this is a much more personal and a much more intimate kind of body of work than Fleetwood Mac, you know, because it is her solo stuff, and as such, it's a beautiful thing to. It's a beautiful thing to listen to in this time, as we're sort of mourning her passing, and I think it's a beautiful way of just sending her love, you know, holding her in our hearts, sending her love, all she stood for, thinking of the ones we love, you know, our partners, our partners maybe here in the here and now, our parents and you know, who departed, friends, relations. Love is a very powerful thing, and yeah, Songbird, what a song. If it feels right, you know, it feels right. Christine McVie, rest in peace. And let's all listen to her music and send and just exist in love. It's the most beautiful thing we can do. And on that note, I'll say thank you very, very, very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video, and I look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks a lot. Cheers for now. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.